We're going to continue our 2019 NHL Prospect Pool review and taking a look at the Chicago Blackhawks. We'll discuss their top 5 prospects coming up next. So welcome back here to Top Shelf Hockey. Now, as we know, the Chicago Blackhawks are sort of in a transition phase here. They're a team that's had a ton of success here in the recent past, winning 3 Stanley Cups with guys like Patrick Kane, Jonathan Toews, Duncan Keith, Corey Crawford, just to name a few here. And we're kind of transitioning towards a younger group of core players, while those veterans are still having somewhat of a positive impact here as well. We saw guys like Kane and Toews really bounce back and put together really solid years last year. Then we have this group of prospects that we're discussing today who should be instrumental in taking them back up to being more competitive and hopefully contending here for a Stanley Cup sometime in the near future. As we discuss each prospect, you're going to see each player will have their own slide on the screen, which will show their biographical information as well as some recent statistics. All that information comes courtesy of EliteProspects.com. It's a great resource with a lot of information, and I highly recommend you check out that site if you're not already familiar with it. Now let's dive in here to the top 5 prospects, starting with number 5, who we have as defenseman Nicolas Beaudin. Beaudin was a 2018 first-round pick taken at number 27 overall. He's got elite vision and exceptional passing ability, which separates him from most of his peers. His commitment to improving his overall game shows his desire to become an NHL defenseman, and he does show to have likely top 4 talent here once he makes it to a full-time NHL role. He's really dominated the QMJHL over the past few years, putting up 125 points over his last 121 games played, which for a defenseman is absolutely incredible here. So it goes to show you just how offensively talented this young man is. He needs to continue working on his defensive game, of course, which is a common trait amongst most defensemen. It really is a major jump to go from junior to the NHL, so that's certainly a part of his game that's going to need work. But with good development, he's got all the tools to possibly be a power play quarterback and a tremendously gifted offensive defenseman here at the NHL level. He's also been focusing hard on his skating. I wouldn't really call it a weak point of his game, but it is one area that could stand to improve here a little bit. But I do see a bright future for this prospect. He has top 4 NHL defenseman potential written all over him, and he's just the tip of the iceberg. As you're going to see here, there's plenty of great defensive prospects here in the Blackhawks system. Next up, we've got forward Philipp, who was a 2018 4th-round pick, and in my opinion, might turn out to be a 4th-round steal. Now, the Swiss-born player has been playing junior as well in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League for the Quebec Ramparts, and has been an offensive dynamo in that league as well, putting up 179 points over 183 games over parts of 3 seasons with the Ramparts. Kurashev is lightning quick with good instincts in the offensive end. He plays well along the boards as well, really strong in the face-off circle. The first thing you really notice about him, though, is his incredible speed and how well he can handle the puck at that high speed. He's also got pretty good size. He doesn't get bumped off the puck very easily, so he's very steady on his skates, and he projects to be a top 6 forward. A worst case scenario, maybe a middle 6 like a second, third liner, but really with his quick speed and offensive instincts, I do think he has top 6 potential, and like I said, very well could turn out to be a steal here. I mean, Kurashev has a ton of talent, and we'll be interested to see how that transitions to the pro game coming soon here. Next up, we have defenseman Ian Mitchell, who was a 2017 second-round pick when playing for the University of Denver. He's going to be going on his 3rd season of college hockey here, so he's going to be at least one more season away from joining the NHL and really competing for a spot. He is going to be the team captain for Denver this coming season as well. So he's certainly shown a lot of leadership abilities here during his time in college hockey, and that's something that will likely help him transition to the NHL as well. He's a really hard worker and has really tried to model his game after Blackhawk defenseman Duncan Keith, who he's been really looking up to here over the past few years since he was drafted by Chicago. He's a really smart, smooth skating offensive defenseman who's got all the tools to be a top 4D in the NHL. Mitchell's able to control the play well with his skating. He's not afraid of the physical play, and he also had a good showing for Team Canada recently at the World Junior Championships, putting up 3 points in 5 games. Yet another great prospect here for the Chicago Blackhawks on the blue line. Next up for the Blackhawks here, we have yet another tremendous defenseman, and that's 2018 first-round selection Adam Boqvist. Now, Boqvist is an offensive-minded, right-shot defenseman. He creates plays and has a commanding presence on the power play. He's a big, accurate shot. He finds spaces in between opponents to get the puck through. So, obviously, that's one of the key components here to a lot of defensemen trying to run a power play. Not only do you have a big shot or a good pass, but can you get it through all the traffic on the way to the net? You got to find those open spots, and he's really, really good at that. He's very agile, especially in traffic and near the net. Very adept at creating turnovers with his stick as well. Displays high levels of finesse and skating ability on all parts of the ice. He's got incredible hockey sense and creates space with the whole team when he's on the ice here. He led the defenseman in points in the regular season with the London Knights last year. His mobility, puck skills, and offensive attack make him extremely valuable. And I know watching interviews with him here since he's been drafted, he's indicated that he models his game after fellow Swedish defenseman Erik Karlsson. When you watch them play, there certainly are some similarities there. I'm not sure he'll be as good as Karlsson. Only time will tell if he ever gets to that level, but the potential for sure is there. I know Boqvist certainly needs to work a little bit more on a few aspects of his game here. I'm not sure exactly when he's going to be ready for the NHL. I would imagine he's likely going to play in the American Hockey League for the coming season, and then we'll see when he gets his opportunity with the big time here in the NHL. He'll likely start as a third pair guy, get some power play time, and then build his way up through the lineup. And next up here, the top prospect for the Blackhawks. We have 2019 first round pick, taken number 3 overall, center iceman from the WHL, Kirby Dach. Now, Dach might have been a little bit surprised to some that he was selected here by the Blackhawks. Obviously, there was another big prospect on the board named Beaudin, the top defenseman of the draft, that many thought the Blackhawks might take. And you know what? They decided that they're going to take the big center iceman here. They already have a lot of prospects within the defense core here that could be potential top 4 guys in the future. And they obviously really felt that Dach was the guy that would best fit with their team here. Now, he's a pass-first type of center iceman, has great awareness on the ice, terrific puck skills. He's got great hockey sense. He's a strong skater, good size. He's really the whole package here and really has the potential to be a strong two-way center iceman at the NHL level. He does lack some explosiveness with his skating, but that's something that they can work on with him, and certainly something that he can be taught here, not something that has to come naturally like other skills. So if that can be improved upon, and if his overall skating improves to play with more pace, then he certainly will be that much more dominant at the NHL. But many compare his vision to that of like a Joe Thornton, who's been an assist leader in the NHL for so many years and been one of the greatest passers of his generation here. So if Dach is anywhere near that, then the Hawks are going to have themselves quite a gem. And he also has the ability to maintain control of the puck in the tightest of spaces as well, which is very impressive. His stick handling is tremendous here. So Kirby Dach really projects to be a very top center iceman for the Blackhawks. Hard to say exactly when he gets his feet wet in the NHL. I know he had a development camp here recently. He probably will attend training camp with the Hawks, but I would not be surprised to see him do another year of junior in the Western Hockey League and more than likely make his debut next season. That would be my guess at least. It wouldn't hurt him at all to go back to junior and really dominate that league a little further, get a chance to go to the World Juniors, hopefully dominate that tournament and have a strong performance to really build up his confidence, allow him to work on his skating just a little bit more, give him that extra seasoning. I don't think there's any need to rush him here, and then we'll see just how much of a game, and then we'll see how much he can bring to the NHL here, hopefully in a very near future. So those are your top 5 prospects for the Blackhawks. Of course, we recently seen them trade another guy who would have made this list had he still been with the club, and that's defenseman Henry Jokiharju here, who was traded to the Sabres for Alex Nylander. Now, you notice Nylander didn't make my list. He's been in the Sabres system for some time. Not real sure what he's going to project to be. Hopefully for Chicago's sake and for Blackhawks fans, they can do wonders with him like they did with Dylan Strome, who really found his game after getting traded to Chicago. Of course, in his case, he was reunited with his old junior line mate, Alex DeBrincat, and that certainly did help a lot to him finding his offensive game at the NHL because he was kind of floundering in Arizona, really wasn't making any progress. Gets to Chicago and things really took off. So I'm sure Hawks fans are hoping it does, and I guess we'll have to remain to be seen on that one. After looking at this list, the trade of Jokiharju, I guess, might make more sense. The fact that they have so many great defensive prospects on the way. More than likely, they all wouldn't play with Chicago at the NHL level anyways, but at the same time, it was just the return that was a little bit questionable here. I would think they would have been able to get themselves maybe a little bit of a higher end forward in return, but like I said, hopefully Nylander turns out to be that guy and Stan Bowman made the right call here. Now quickly as well, I'd like to mention some honorable mentions, some other prospects in the Hawks organization that are certainly worthy of mentioning and could have an impact on this team moving forward. For example, they have goaltender Alex Gravel playing for the Halifax Mooseheads in the QMJHL. Has had a pretty solid showing since being drafted. Of course, they get to play in the Memorial Cup this past season as well and had a good showing, lost in the final against Rouyn-Noranda. But overall, though, he had a tremendous playoff and a great tournament, so he's progressing quite nicely. Could possibly be a guy who gets a shot at the NHL in a few years' time, but obviously a lot of that's going to depend on their other goaltending situation. They now have Robin Leonard with the organization, who's a little younger than Corey Crawford. If he can stay with the organization and remain healthy, then he might prove to be the goaltender of the immediate future at least, but you never know. Maybe Gravel will get an opportunity opportunity here in a couple of years' time, but he certainly needs a little bit more seasoning, probably some time in the minor leagues before we really have a true indication of what he's going to be as a pro. Now, they also have forward prospect Alexei Sorella, who they picked up from Carolina when they did that trade, which also brought them defenseman Calvin DeHaan. Sorella really had a terrific year for the Charlotte Checkers in the American Hockey League. He was one of their top offensive producers, so if he can continue with that type of production, even if he has to play in Rockford for a little while and then maybe get an opportunity at the NHL, that very well might prove to be quite a pickup for the Blackhawks as well. I was a little reluctant to put him on the top 5 list, but he certainly has potential to kind of squeak in there. Now, we also saw the Hawks draft his brother here as well in the 2019 NHL draft. So now they have another set of brothers here in their system as well. They also have 21-year-old defenseman Chad Chris, who made his pro debut last year. Of course, he had played for a few years at Boston University, so he's still progressing. He's still only 21 years old as well, so he's another top defensive prospect who very well might be able to make the jump to the NHL. I haven't really seen enough of him at the pro level yet to say for sure that he's going to make it, of course, but he certainly is another interesting prospect here for Hawks fans to keep your eye on. They also have forward Mackenzie Entwistle in the system as well, who they had acquired from Arizona. Previously, he had a pretty solid junior career, had a good opportunity to play for Team Canada last year at the World Juniors. Pretty solid two-way guy, kind of underrated a little bit debatable. I think if he does make the NHL, he'll end up projecting to be like a middle 6 or bottom 6 type of forward, but he's still another interesting prospect here in the Blackhawks organization. They do have a lot of depth in a variety of positions here. As you can see, their strong suit was defense heading into this draft, but now adding Kirby Dach in there, and then even the acquisition of Alexei Sorella really boosts the forward group. You throw in Philipp Kurashev as well, and then that forward group for prospects looks pretty promising as well. They got a potential goalie in the future for Alexis Gravel. So really overall, I really like this Blackhawks prospect pool. It's certainly looking quite nicely to help them take them through this retool and into the future with some bright, promising years ahead of them. So, of course, as always, want to hear your thoughts and opinions on the Blackhawks prospect pool. What do you think of their top 5 prospects? Let me know how you'd rank them down in the comment section, and we'll continue the conversation. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notification bell so you don't miss any future content. There's still plenty of teams left to be covered in this prospect series, so stay tuned for that. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you next time.